And record it. I have to record it too.
Yes. Do you want me to hit the record button or do you want to do that?
You can. The question is.
Oh, good. Okay. So we're definitely live. It's happening right now. And I'm going to
record it. I have to record it too.
Yes. I think do you want me to hit the record button or do you want to do that?
You can.
Sorry, that was YouTube playing in the background. Okay, so we're live. This is great. I'm sorry, I'm hitting record. You're hitting record.
Well, I can't, but if you hit it then and make me co-host, will make me host, will I be able to?
I'm going to make you host right now and then
I can hit record and then we'll deal with what to do with the record button afterwards.
Yeah. Okay, you should be host. And now if you want it to record on gallery view, I think it's going to record on whatever version you are looking at the screen.
So I just hit record.
Excellent.
And it says recording. So I'm going to start to admit people.
Okay. And I'm going to go back and moderate our other channel.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. See you soon. Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach. Hello, Paula. Hey, ma'am.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Hi, Julie.
Amy, my daughter Sarah's here. She doesn't want to be seen, but she's.
Well, I don't want to see her then.
Oh, you don't want.
Well, I mean, I don't want to see anybody who doesn't want to be seen. That's all I mean.
I look like a hot mess. She looks like a hot mess. She's
okay. I completely understand looking like a hot mess.
Well, all the more reason we want to see her then.
Oh, we should do a little sound check.
Little sound check. Of course, I haven't moved the microphone since yesterday morning, so I think we're good, but
it's not as good.
Oh, hang on. Wait, why is my weird? Hang on. What? This is weird because what? Just a second.
Hello there, Shelley. How are you?
That's why we sound check.
You're muted, Shelley.
Yeah, I know. I can't find it when I want it.
Story of my life. How are you?
Good. I'm okay.
Did you have a nice Seder last night?
I did. We had one with my son and my daughter-in-law and my grandson, so it was nice.
How old is your grandson?
2.
Nice.
2.
That's a busy age.
Yeah. Cute as a button.
That's nice. I'm glad you were together.
Yeah.
Okay, shall we try again?
Oh, I'm happy already. Yes.
There we go. Good.
Thank you. Whatever you did, thank you.
Yep, just made sure everything was plugged in properly. That's all it took.
So, Susan, your table looks quite lovely. And you have Rachel there, and is that Bill at the end?
Yes. 3 of us.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
We have a very strict controller of Zoom here. She mutes and unmutes.
Listen, muting is a real etiquette.
She's keeping a real
Mute on things.
control. Yeah,
I understand.
I see. I know.
I don't know if everybody saw this or not. Let me quick find it. Just a second. All right, where is this? How many different windows can I have open? And why is this night different from, yeah. Okay. Nope, not that one. And there we go. Okay. So, all right. So the Torah speaks of 4 kinds of people who use Zoom: the wise, the wicked, the simple, the one who does not know how to mute. The wise person says, I'll handle the admin features, controls, and chat rooms and forward the cloud recording transcript after the call. The wicked person says, since I have unlimited duration, I scheduled a meeting for 6 hours. As it says in the Haggadah, whoever prolongs the telling of the story, Hare Zem Shubah, is praiseworthy. The simple person says, hello, am I on? I can hear you, but I can't see you. The Yerushalmi reads, I can see you, but I can't hear you. Finally, the one who does not know how to mute says, how should I know where you put your keys? I'm stuck on this stupid Zoom call. To the wise person, you should offer all of the Zoom Pro options and add-on plans. To the wicked person, you should say, had you been in charge, we'd still be in Egypt. To the simple person, you should say, just try the call-in number instead. And to the one who does not know how to mute, you should say, why should this night be different from all other nights?
Who wrote that?
I'm not sure. My friend said it to me. It says thanking Sandy, that's my friend's wife, her uncle John Eckstein. I don't know if he wrote it or not, but I thought it was pretty funny.
There you go. That is funny. I'm just waiting a couple of minutes to see if other people are going to.
Very quick,
Please.
is a picture of matzah, and it says it's almost time when everybody hears the 4 questions. And the questions are, have you gotten the vaccine? Which one did you have? What were your side effects? And when do you think you'll go back to work?
That's good.
Excellent.
Craig had a very nice picture. Craig, do you have your Elijah? You've done mute.
I don't have that meme handy, but it's just basically a mask floating in air and says, finally this year we'll be able to see Elijah.
I like that.
Yeah. For those of you who may be wondering about my background, that is a graphic that my wife Sherry made a number of years ago. She had originally intended it to be an actual Seder plate, but that proved challenging to get it done. It's a paper cut. So it's a Seder plate, but it's one sheet of paper that she carefully, cut out all the pieces that weren't part of the design, and what was left was this exquisite Seder plate graphic that she made. So
I'm going to wait like another few minutes because I know people are just getting on. So it's good to have all of you with us. Did anybody eat their Seder in a box that they ordered? I just am curious how the food was. The vegetarian one was excellent, but I don't know about the other.
I had some. It was tasty.
Judy, how was yours? Like, you're shaking your head. I can unmute you.
Yeah, okay, good. Thank you. We had the vegetarian as well. I thought it was good.
I thought it was good.
Yeah, yep. The mushroom was a little spicy, but it was good.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have that yet. That's tonight.
Okay.
But the rest I thought was good.
Yeah,
I got a kick out of the fact that they included salt water.
Yes.
I did too. I thought that was funny. Salt water. Yeah, there was a little thing of salt water. We could have done that ourselves.
Somebody posted a picture of like shelves of kosher Pesach stuff, probably in Brooklyn or something, and it literally had plastic containers of salt water, kosher Pesach. It's like, okay. If you want to pay for something that you could just make yourself, then okay.
Why not? All right, so let me tell you what we're going to do tonight. The second Seder, in my estimation, is always a little bit looser and freer than the first because, the first we're all excited but by the second Seder, it's already getting to be, we've done it once. So I thought that this year it would be fun to do something a little bit different. Many of you, I sent the email to as many of you who had signed up in advance. We had done a wonderful program with an Ethiopian woman named Brahan, who's about 25 years old, and she and her family came to Israel. So with Rabbi Josh Weitzberg, I worked with him and he created this wonderful Haggadah that I sent many of you. And he also sent me about a 20-minute video of Brahan talking about her family's Passover experience. So we're going to kind of go back between some of the traditional liturgy, and Brahan's going to talk a little bit about some of her experiences. And a couple of times I'm going to exercise my host status and put us into breakout rooms to have some conversations. And we're not going to do everything that's, I mean, in advance, I want to tell you, we're probably going to miss something that you really love about the Seder, or we're not going to sing a song that you wish we had sung. But what we're doing is we're gathering, we're going to talk about the story of the Exodus, and we're going to learn a little bit about how some of our brothers and sisters, other Jews, have celebrated the Exodus. So I think, and celebrated Passover. So I thought that would be fun. I do want to say it's interesting. A colleague put something on Facebook, I think on Thursday or Friday, and it really caught me, and I wanted to share it with you because it just caught me by surprise. He said the sole purpose for celebrating the Exodus is to develop radical empathy because we were slaves, and that everything after that is secondary. It is the sole purpose is for us to remember that experience and to do the work of taking care of the downtrodden in society. And I've really been thinking about that because I'm not sure that he would see it that way. And I guess that's a question I'm going to pose for you to be thinking about. Is that the sole purpose of the Exodus, of the Seder, or are there other purposes as well? So we can talk about that as the night unfolds. In the meantime, Cantor Levson is going to begin with a nigun.
And this is from our friends in Jerusalem, Nava Tehillah. They wrote a nigun for every month of the Hebrew year, and this is Nigun Nisan. Is it particularly Pesach? I don't know, but it's a nice nigun. So. Yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai
So I thought I would begin by sharing a little bit of Brahan's story.
The Exodus from Egypt took place some 3,500 years ago. But that story of Israel's journey from slavery to freedom remains one of the most powerful stories ever written. We remember it, we celebrate it, we study it, and sometimes we even live it. Hi, my name is Josh Weisberg, And in preparation for Passover this year, I asked a family friend, Brahan Vorko, if she would be willing to tell us a little bit about how her community, the Ethiopian Jewish community, celebrates Passover and remembers its own recent exodus from Africa. Brahan and her family invited me and my friend Asaf to join them for dinner one night in their home in Ashdod. As our contribution to the dinner, Asaf and I brought some of our own traditional Passover foods.
אנחנו פה בחוץ. הופה, יפה. שלום חמוד. רגע, זה אביב ו...
ישראל.
We have those square matzot. We have gefilte fish. You know what gefilte fish is?
Yeah.
You ever had gefilte fish?
No, we celebrated the Passover like it was written in the Torah.
They would just read the Bible.
Yes.
And that's what they would do.
Yeah, the Kessim told the story, the Exodus story, how all of Israel have been in Egypt and how they got from Egypt to Israel. In Israel, each family celebrates the Passover in her home. In Ethiopia, all the community were gathering at the synagogue. The Kessim would sing a song that they would know. Basically, the dishes that was in Ethiopia, they wasn't from plastic or metal.
Right.
It was from clay, as you see. And you can't make a clay kosher for Pesach. You need to break this and then to make a new one. So like when we moved to Israel, we're doing this from the Agadah right now. And now when you are in Israel, you're just doing this with your own family and not with your community.
We'll get back to hear more from Brahan, but now I thought we would start by really reminding ourselves of the order of the Seder. So we're going to continue with the Kadesh or Chatz. So I just need to know, do most of you have one of the Haggadot that I emailed you so that you have access to it, or do you need me to share the screen so that you have the words in front of you? I'm happy to do either.
Can you share the screen, please?
It would be my pleasure to share my screen. And I'm even going to share the screen that has a transliteration of it.
Got it.
Perfect.
All right.
All right. This is a melody that I learned, over 30 years ago. A chazan named Chaim Parchi of blessed memory. He recorded a cassette tape. Remember those? Back in the late 80s of Haggadah tunes. And they were from all of these exotic places throughout the world. And I just fell in love with a number of the melodies. So this is a melody from Salonika for Kadesh or Chatz. Kadesh or Chatz Karpas yachatz, magid rochatza, motzi matzah, maror korech, shulchan orech, tzafun barech, halel nirtzah. Kadesh or Chatz, Karpas yachatz, magid rochatza, motzi matzah, maror korech, shulchan orech, tzafun barech, Hallel nirtzah.
Reverend Aminia, could I impose upon you to lead us in the Kiddush?
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן.
אמן.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בחר בנו מכל עם ורוממנו מכל לשון וקידשנו במצוותיו ותיתן לנו אדוני אלוהינו באהבה מועדים לשמחה חגים וזמנים לששון את יום חג המצות הזה, זמן חירותנו מקרא קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים. ומועדי קודשך בשמחה ובששון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש ישראל והזמנים.
אמן.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
Amen. Amen. So, the first hand washing, I'm going to leave you on your own. I hope that you have a little something to nosh on because it's already 7:15 and maybe you're a little hungry. So if there's some karpas nearby that you can take and that you can dip into salt water, we can together say Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri ha'adama. And sadly, we can't look for the afikomen, so I'm going to leave the afikomen for you and your Seder, but we're going to continue on with halach ma'anya.
Okay, I am not muted. All right. Halach ma'anya di achalu avatana behara di Mitzrayim behara di Mitzrayim kol tichnin yete veichol kol ditzrich yete veifsach השתה לשנה הבאה בערדי ישראל. השתה עבדי לשנה הבאה בני חורין.
I'm going to go back to Brahan. Hold on here, sorry about that. Okay.
Was there a manishtana in Ethiopia, or the kids didn't say anything?
So the kids didn't say anything, but in Israel, which translated to Amharic, I can sing this in Amharic.
Yeah, go ahead. Can you sing for us? Sing it very slowly, though, because our audience doesn't know a lot of Amharic.
Okay.
So let's sing it really slow. And they're going to follow along in the words, and you can sing for them.
Okay, so try. Mentele bezi lelitu kemulu lelit bezi lelitu enen valalen Kitan dabo, kitan dabo, zare mata mulu, kita, zare mata mulu, kita. So this is like the first paragraph.
of the מה נשתנה.
Yeah, of the מה
איך זה היה?
נשתנה.
היה בסדר? שרה טוב?
תרגמתי טוב?
אמרי טוב?
לא צוחקת עליי, זה לא היה
יכול
טוב, זה
לצלם
לא
את
היה
האמא
טוב.
צוחק.
So why don't we sing the Manishtana now?
In the Haggadah, there are 4 sets. There's a
Hold
wicked
on
son.
here.
So this melody that people now think is traditional Israeli was actually written for a Passover cantata in Israel back in, I think, the late 40s or early 50s by a man named Ephraim Abaleah. And I always like when a song actually has a composer, but people think it's traditional, to just mention that, yes, Ephraim Abaleah wrote this melody, which many of us know. And in the Levson household for many years now, it has been custom for some unlucky person to have to try to say the 4 questions in the original Klingon, but we won't do that tonight. מה נשתנה הלילה הזה מכל הלילות, מכל הלילות, שבכל הלילות אנו אוכלים חמץ ומצה, חמץ ומצה. הלילה הזה, הלילה הזה כולו מצה. הלילה הזה, הלילה הזה כולו מצה. שבכל הלילות אנו אוכלים שאר ירקות, שאר ירקות. הלילה הזה, הלילה הזה מרור, מרור. הלילה הזה, הלילה הזה מרור, מרור. שבכל הלילות אין אנו מטילים אפילו פעם אחת, אפילו פעם אחת. הלילה הזה, הלילה הזה שתי פעמים. הלילה הזה, הלילה הזה שתי פעמים. שבכל הלילות אנו אוכלים בין יושבין ובין מסובין, בין יושבין ובין מסובין. הלילה הזה, הלילה הזה כולנו מסובין. הלילה הזה, הלילה הזה כולנו מסובין.
And we'll go right on with the answer, Avadim Hayinu.
There we go. עבדים היינו, היינו, אתה בני חורין, בני חורין. עבדים היינו, אתה בני חורין. עבדים היינו, אתה בני חורין, בני חורין. We were slaves in Egypt, but now we're free. We were slaves in Egypt, but now we're free. We were slaves in Egypt, but now we're free. We were slaves in Egypt, but now we're free, but now we're free, but now we're free. Avadim haynu, haynu. אתה בני חורין, בני חורין. בתים היינו, אתה בני חורין. עבדים היינו, אתה בני חורין, בני Bechorin.
What I wanted to do now is, before we continue on, so we asked the 4 questions and the answer is we were slaves. For the authors of the Haggadah, that was the predominant experience and the one that we should hold on to and say that is central and that is the most important thing. And we shouldn't forget that. And that's actually what my colleague put on Facebook when my colleague said, that's the seminal experience. We were slaves and now we're free. I want to turn it a little bit. And I want to ask you to be thinking about what it is you would want your children, what is particularly significant about your relationship to Judaism that you would want your children to remember? Or what is it about Judaism? Like if you could pick one thing, what is it about Judaism that you would want your children to remember? And what I want to do, because this is a big group and it's hard to have a discussion, I'm actually going to put us in breakout rooms. Usually when I do this in classes, it works quite well. So we're going to just try it. Those of you who don't have your screen, maybe for the breakout room, you'll feel like letting your video show. We're just going to try it and see if it turns out that you're a shy group. I won't do it again, but it might be nice because it's just a little more intimate. So I'm going to give you about 4 minutes or so. And again, my question is, what is it that's particularly significant about your Judaism that you would like your children to remember? Okay, and off you go.
Someone doesn't know that. I'm curious, within the Ethiopian pickup, meaning are there different experiences, different representative prototypes of how the kids experience the immigration system? And what about your own experience? Did you go through different stages in your life?
Yeah, so at the beginning I was the deny girl. Yeah, I was really shy.
How do the children break up? Meaning, are there different experiences?
From a barley, yes. So sometimes you make it like very strong, so it can be alcohol inside. But if you make it this not so strong, so it will, like a juice, and that's it. For the Ethiopian community, we had one dream to come to Israel, to come to Jerusalem. At the village, you saw to come to it. It's like a juice, and that's it for the tip.
Did it not work, Eileen, to go into a breakout room? I didn't hear you. Did it not work to go into a breakout room?
It worked for me, but Zena didn't know how to unmute, so it was just the two of us, and I was talking to her, and I don't read lips.
I got you. So let me tell you who Zena is. Zena is actually my sister's mother-in-law.
Wow.
My sister is on the call as well. And I see you ended up, you were a small group. So I'm just going to ask you, is there something particular or significant that you would want your children to remember about Judaism?
Me.
Yeah, you.
Yeah. Well, what I said, that
I didn't hear it.
I learned my ethics through Judaism, through the filter of Judaism. And it's always, I know you can learn it elsewhere. You don't have to be a religious person, but that's where I learned it. And it's very meaningful to me that way.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, you know, it's interesting for me. I don't actually think about it as ethics as much. And this is my answer now. I don't know what I'll answer in a week, right? Or even tomorrow. But I think I do always come back to, I have developed an appreciation of the natural world around me because of Judaism. So I really pay attention to, do I say Borei Priya Et or Borei Priya Adama? Like, because I'm a city girl, like I'm a real city girl, like totally, that I pay attention to the cycles of the year and the phases of the moon. That all comes from my Judaism. And I actually think that it's inspired me to think more about the environment, although I'm a late bloomer in that, and I actually recognize that. But I think that that actually all comes from my Judaism, interestingly enough. My ethics, I feel like that comes from my parents, but they didn't anchor it in Judaism. They just anchored it in being a good person, right? Even though everything they said, I could attach a verse to it. It sort of came from a different place, if that makes sense. So,
yeah, I agree with you. There was one time I was down at the refuge and there was a fallout of birds, which means a large number of birds just landed in a tree. And I started to sing, Ma Rabu Masechaya.
Totally.
Yeah. And it
What was
was
your Seder last night?
It turned out to be very short with my mother, but she enjoyed it. And then my son set up a Seder with his fiance and her parents, which it was very nice to meet them. I've met her. So yeah, it was very nice. It was very nice. And then we're having, after this, I'm going to have another Seder with my son.
Oh, lovely. Well,
So-
this will probably be, that's really nice. And I'm going
It
to.
is. I really appreciate Zoom at times like this.
It makes a difference, right?
It does. It does.
I was trying not to do exactly a traditional Seder, to mix it up a little. I hope this is going to work.
No, I think it's fine.
So was it hard to go in a breakout room with people you didn't know? Was that okay?
Yeah. No problem. But
The advantage of Zoom is you don't have to get up when you go into a breakout room. You could stay put.
Right.
I don't like moving much. Let's see.
Heard all about you from your sister, Amy.
Oh, that's scary.
Hey, Marion.
She told you the truth about me, huh?
We have to go birding soon. You're muted.
Yeah, absolutely. The spring weather is coming and I'm seeing a few birds return on my backyard feeder, so we'll have to get together.
Okay.
Aw.
I got excited. I thought I had a fox sparrow. Wishful thinking. It was a song sparrow.
Oh, well, you know my dilemma with the fox in the song, so I would have
I
gotten
know.
really
I know.
excited.
I know.
All right.
Okay.
I want to go on. The Haggadah goes on next with the 4 children. So I want to give you a chance to hear Brahan talk about the 4 children.
This is a girl from Ethiopia who went to Israel, and she you know, it was really difficult for her.
In the Haggadah, there are 4 sons. There's a wicked son, a wise son, a simple son, and a son who doesn't know how to ask. I'm curious, within the Ethiopian community, how do the children break up? Meaning, are there different experiences, different representative prototypes of how the kids experience the immigration to Israel? And what about your own experience? Did you go through different stages in your life?
Yeah, so at the beginning I was the deny girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really shy to speak Amharic. I was really shy to expose to them my food, like the cultural food, the dabo, the injera, you know, everything. And then I realized that, you know, I'm more powerful with my roots than without them. So I started to ask my parents, you know, how it was in Ethiopia. What did you do in Ethiopia? Tell me stories about that. You know, in Shabbat, when you have time to talk. And now I'm like more feel connected to the Ethiopian culture, but I don't feel that it's denying the Israeli that in me. You know.
So I'm just curious. I love that little snippet of Brahan. And I'm just curious how you reacted to her trajectory of, she said she was the deny girl. I thought that was sweet. But what do you think when she meant what she meant when she said, I realized I was more powerful with my roots than without them? Just unmute yourself.
I think
Go for it, Mary.
I think that she has an identity. She knows who she is from where she came. And there's an expression that we give our children, roots and wings. Roots so they know who they are and where they came from, and the strength to be able to fly in their own direction. So I think that's what she meant.
Right. So she said she started out as the deny girl, which a little bit, I think she was kind of, I don't know that she was using the word wicked, but I was just curious. Do any of you ever, have any of you seen yourself at any time as the wicked child? When you think back to your youth, I know no one now is the wicked child, but when you think back, and if you don't, I guess the other question I would ask is, when you go back to your youth, if you were to choose one of the 4 children, which one would you have most identified with? My sister does not get to say which one she would most identify me with.
Now, how do I get back on?
Yeah, I just don't want her to do that. But I am anxious to hear from you if you look back on your childhood, or if you thought of yourself as a wicked one. And I just invite you to unmute yourself and share a little, if you're up for it.
Such a quiet group.
I know.
I was very wicked in my high school years, and these were the 50s, and I wanted to date non-Jewish boys. And in the 50s, this was a terrible thing to do, and it was something that was not allowed in our home, and it was a cause of great discord. And anyway, I think it always left a mark on my relationship between me and my parents, even years later when I ended up marrying my husband.
Can I say we're all glad you found Martin?
Oh, thank you. I'm glad I found Martin too. But that was the height of the discord of my teenage years in my home.
Right. I can imagine.
Hi, this is Sue with Karen Kayo's group in Michigan. Sue Thomas.
Great.
Hi, Amy. It's been a long time.
Very long.
Yeah, I'm just gonna kind of build on that and the deny part. I wondered, and I don't know because I wonder. There was a period of time, on, like, you know, just like Marion, like I wanted to deny it because it wasn't particularly easy to be Jewish in a community where no one else was Jewish, where I grew up. But I think even just being here tonight doing this kind of reminds me that I am stronger with my Judaism and my roots.
Anyone else? We were probably all wise children.
Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, I wanted to say, Phil with the Karen Kyle entourage. My Yiddish name is Feivel Mordechai, and I had it first before the other Feivel. And I was Feivel the Teivel, which in Yiddish is the devil. So by default, I was the wicked one, but I identified with the child that doesn't know much. So now today I'm a blend, you know, but anyway, but back then I was the Teivel child.
All right, I'm going to take us on because Brahana is going to talk about the journey from Ethiopia to Israel, and I want to be sure and share that.
From barley, yes. So sometimes you make it like very strong, so it can be alcohol inside. But if you make it this not so strong, so
Like
it
a
will,
juice.
yeah, it's like a juice, and that's it. For the Ethiopian community, we had one dream to come to Israel, to come to Jerusalem. At the village, you saw the birds. And you ask the birds, like, if Israel, it's okay, if our land, if everything is there, it's fine. It's called in Amharic, Shemela, Shemela, Hagerachin Dena. You needed to go from your village and go day by day at the night to avoiding the thieves and the dangerous people and dangerous animals that waited for you. You're going to the unknown. You don't know what's going to be, but you have to trust Hashem that everything will be good. And you just leave it, everything like that, like all your fields, all your cows, you just wake up in the morning and goes to Israel. It could take 1 month or 2 months. אבל כמה זמן זה לקח לסודן? חודשיים, לא? לא, מאתיופיה לסודן.
ליהודים שהלכו לסודן.
כמה זמן זה לקח להם?
זה שבועיים לקח להם.
שבועיים? זה לא חודשיים?
חודש, חודשיים גם, כן.
It depends on with who you walk. If you're walking alone, it would take you 2 weeks. If you're walking with your family, it takes more because you have.
Went by foot.
Yeah, went by foot, and some of them died because starving, or some of the women got raped. It's like there's like a tour guide.
Right, a tour guide.
Yeah, they would take you from Ethiopia to Sudan, but some of them were liars. And they would say, okay, I will take you to Sudan, trust on me. And they would take the money and leave. They would take the food and leave. They would do some agreements with some robbers. And they would tell them, okay, at this point, we're going with the Jewish people. You can take whatever you want. There is like my mom's sisters. They're still waiting to do Aliyah. My mom's parents waited to do Aliyah, but they died there. She never saw them since the Aliyah. She was 18 years old. She was hoping that maybe after 1 year, after 2 years, her parents will join to her, but they
never
no.
So clearly the Ethiopian Jews had a real struggle as they made their way and to think about how difficult it must have been. They really literally lived through the plagues. We're going to continue with the plagues. And as we do, I wanted to pause for a minute. I know in this Haggadah, and Rabbi Josh and I had a lot of conversations about it. He wrote about the pandemic as being one of the plagues. And I actually didn't like that language so much, because I don't think of the pandemic as coming from God. I think of the pandemic as something that happened. But he wrote, as we celebrate Passover this year, we're in the middle of our own global plague. Like the plagues of Egypt, there's something universal about the experience of lockdowns, masks, and fear of sickness and death. And perhaps the devastation wreaked by the pandemic, too, is a consequence of human behavior. For many, the conditions of the pandemic have meant that, like the Israelites on the night preceding the Exodus, we have stayed indoors to escape what is raging outside. And for some, like the Jews in Egypt 3,500 years ago, the plague has brought families closer together. I would imagine each of us could have had different experiences. And I invite you, as we go through the plagues, I'm going to invite you to think for a moment about the silver linings of the plagues. I'm not going to ask you to share them with me. That's on your time. But I'm hoping that there were some silver linings, and that there were some ways in which your family was able to find some times together in ways that were really helpful and good. We're going to continue with the 10 plagues. Reverend Amelia, can I ask you to lead us in the 10 plagues? Maybe I can't. All right. I'm going to do it. Jam, Svardea, Kinim, Arov, Dever, Shchin, Barad, Arba, Choshech, Makat, Bechorot. And we're going to continue on singing an oldie but a goodie, Let My People Go.
Just as soon as I wipe the wine off of my finger so I can play the guitar.
Deal. No wine on the guitar.
No. I was streaming B'nai Jeshurun's service this morning, and when they got to Psalm 136, Hodu l'Adonai ki tov ki le'olam chasdo, they did it to this melody. I thought, oh, cool. Hodu l'Adonai ki tov ki le'olam chasdo. It's like, that's perfect. When Israel was in Egypt land, let my people go. Oppressed so hard they could not stand, let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land. Tell old Pharaoh, let my people go. Thus saith the Lord, Moses said, let my people go. If not, I'll smite your firstborn dead. Let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt's land. Tell old Pharaoh, let my people go. No more shall they in bondage toil. Let my people go. Let them come out with Egypt's spoil. Let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land. Tell old Pharaoh, let my people go.
Rohana is going to share a little of her her notion of gratitude and Dayenu. Take her to.
One of the things that I'm really happy for, it's like to see the strength of my parents. Like, you know, they had a lot of hard times also in Ethiopia, and they didn't give up to come to Israel. So for that I say Dayenu. And also we came to Jerusalem. My mom, my dad, healthy and happy. Also I say about that Dayenu. And we are a big family in Israel, and most of the family they are here. Also I say about that Dayenu. And בשנה הבאה בירושלים הבנויה, בעזרת השם, that the rest of the family will come and my dad will find his father. בעזרת השם, I will say about that also דיינו.
So I hope there are lots of things that we can say Dayenu about. I'm not going to put you on the spot, but I am going to encourage you as we sing Dayenu. I am going to encourage you to think for a moment about, she offered us several things. If you could think about 3 things that you are grateful for since last year's Pesach. I know number 1 is vaccination for probably everyone on this call, but I'm hoping that beyond the vaccine, there are some other things that you can turn to and identify. Again, I'm not going to put anyone on the spot. If you want to put it in the chat, that's great. But if not, let's just enjoy Dayenu. And there's no scallions to hit. I don't have scallions to hit anyone with, but maybe you do. You could hit someone around. That is actually a Sephardic custom that I like. No, I don't think parsley is the same as a scallion, Linda.
אילו הוציאנו ממצרים, הוציאנו ממצרים, דיינו, 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 אילו נתן לנו את השבת, נתן לנו את השבת, דיינו, 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 אילו נתן לנו את התורה, נתן לנו את התורה, דיינו, 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 דיינו.
So Rabban Gamliel said there are 3 things that we're supposed to talk about at any Seder. This was long before there was a Haggadah, and there were gazillions of versions of Haggadot. Rabban Gamliel said we should talk about Pesach, Matzah, and Maror. So the Pesach, of course, was the Passover offering. And of course, because the Ethiopian Jews were just completely disconnected from the Jewish world, in fact, it was interesting. One of the things that Brahan told Josh that he didn't know is that when many Ethiopian Jews came to Israel, they were devastated that the temple had been destroyed because they had spent all this time imagining that there had been a temple. And so part of what the other thing that he learned is that they would slaughter a lamb for Passover, but then in the rest of the week, they ate vegetarian food for the rest of the week of Passover. So it just goes to show these different cultural, different ways in which our cultures have evolved. What I want to do now, though, is I want to take you, because I want you to hear Brahan talk about the lechem and how and what they ate it and how it was prepared.
to the Ethiopian culture, but I don't feel that it's denying the Israeli that in me, you know.
אתה יכול לעשות...
כן.
אז תעשה פעם מכאן.
אז איך אני עושה? ככה?
באמצע.
עם כולם או רק
לא
אחד?
צלב. ככה.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהכל נהיה בדברו.
אמן. זהו. עכשיו אישה מסדרת או אני.
You and your mother prepared a lot of food
My
for us.
my mother did it
Your
all.
mother did
She's
all the
the
work.
queen.
Thank you to
She's
the
the
mother.
only queen here. This is called tef.
Tef is a different kind of a grain?
Yes. From this you make in the injera,
Okay.
as you see here. If the bubbles are big, it's a sign that the injera is good. The preparation, it takes a week.
And you can't just go to a store and buy injera.
No, you just make it by yourself.
If we want to know what leavened bread was like originally, it would have looked something like this.
Yeah, it would look like injera. So this is what we didn't eat
So this
at
is
Passover.
like sourdough bread.
Yeah. As you said, the movies, like people from the past did, this is how we did it. We had our own field and you had to make a flour.
You had to harvest your own wheat.
Yeah,
You had to thresh it, grind it.
Everything.
Everything from scratch.
everything was made by hand.
ברוך אתה אלוהינו מלך העולם המוציא להם מן החרב.
In Shabbat, you make in double, a different kind of bread. As you see, it's circled, really tasty.
And how long does it take to make this?
3 hours, because you have it to put in a low fire, so it would make a lot of time to make it. But my mom make it like very tasty.
What grain did they make the matzah out of in Ethiopia?
For Pesach, we made it from wheat flour, and if there was villages without wheat flour, so we would make it with the tef flour. Was the matzah that was eaten in Ethiopia.
We put the meat from the sacrifice.
Instead of matzah, it's in Amharic, it's called kita.
Kita.
Yeah.
And how would you make this?
Taking the wheat flour or the tef
Or the
flour,
teff, yeah.
you mix this with a little bit water, and then you, without any oil, you put it on the oven, and you put it out, and this is ready.
Wow. So then you would just bake this right on the oven straight?
And with this, you eat all the sauce that you we making for a Passover.
And would rich people and poor people in Ethiopia would eat the same food?
Yeah, the same food.
במזרק לא מטם. קודם ברכנו אותו, נכון?
כן, ברכנו.
אז עכשיו אפשר לאכול. אז ככה, נצ'ה. הנה עכשיו, הכבוד שאני נותן לה לאישה, היה ואני נותן גורשה.
זה גורשה.
היה, לפני שאני...
האישה הכינה זה...
לפני שאתה נותן לאישה קודם. Is there something that all the Jewish people can learn from Ethiopian Jews? Something that's special that you have to teach to the rest of the...
Maybe I think how to host people, because when someone comes to your home, you give them respect and you honor them and you treat them like he's a king, and you don't want them to go. Like my mom tells me that when their family came to visit them, so when they went to their home, all their family cried that they're going and that they're leaving. So when a family comes to visit you, you want to bring them a lot of food so they will not be hungry from all the way that they did to come to visit you. So the first thing that you can bring them, it's called doro, chicken with a spicy sauce. It's really delicious.
And what do you do for forks and spoons?
You just eat it with the hands.
With hands,
It's called dinich, potatoes with a cabbage. And if they're not eating meat or chicken, you can bring them a cook. It's a.
Are there a lot of vegetarians in Ethiopia?
Most of the Ethiopian foods, it's a vegetarian food. Of course, that when they come in, do all the buna ceremony. After you eat the injera, after you drink the buna, you want to chill a little bit. So you drink tela. It's like a beer that you make from barley. Yes. So sometimes you make it like very strong, so it can be alcohol inside. But if you make it this not so strong, so
Like
it
a
will
juice.
it's like a juice, and that's it. For the Ethiopian community, we had one dream to come to Israel, to come to Jerusalem. At the village.
So they talked about the Pesach and she talked about the matzah. And later on in the video, she talks about the maror. The one thing I want to say, she talked about, the bread didn't really have to do with the Passover story, but it was so interesting. I knew you would enjoy that. But the one thing I want to say about the matzah that has always struck me is the matzah is for us a symbol of freedom, and it's also a symbol of slavery. And I think it is so interesting that one thing could symbolize two different things. And I invite you to take a moment and to think about, and I'll actually use, and I'll use from my own experience, like in a certain way, this last year, COVID was on the one hand, the experience was tremendously difficult and tremendously challenging for our community on the one hand. And on the other hand, the truth is, it's also been an incredible opportunity, and there's been a lot of engagement. And of course, we paid a horrible price, and we didn't have a choice. But there's interesting to me that something can be so difficult, and at the same time, there can be a silver lining. It's like something could be a symbol of oppression and a symbol of freedom. It's worth for a moment thinking about what is that in your own lives that is both liberating on the one hand and on the other hand restricting, or how something could be means two different things and express two different things at once. So that seems to be an interesting thing that the matzah is for us. I'm going to take you back to hear her talk about the maror, that experience, because it really was quite powerful.
በቅርብ ደግሞ ከድርሽ ተኩሎች ደግሞ ይጠብቃል። ושתצא קורונה ולא יהיה סגר.
אמן.
What was hard about living Jewish in Ethiopia?
So when you are Jewish in Ethiopia, the non-Jewish call you by names like Felasha and Felashmura, and there were a time that you had to convert from Jewish to Christianity, and if you're not doing this, they would take you the land. You know, this is your food, this is your job, this is like the food that you give to your kids. If they converted, they would keep the fields. The Jewish people that did it, they kept the Jewish life in secret, so the non-Jewish people wouldn't know this, and they wouldn't marry non-Jewish people. But that's one of the sacrifices that you need to be Jewish at the Gola. It wasn't easy to move to Israel, but it was worth it. For the community, I think it was a hard process because they thought that Israel, it's one thing, and they realized that it's a lot of things. For example, like to move from the village and the life that you had to Israel, and also to expose to all the halachically word that we have in Israel, and we didn't expose to that in Ethiopia. And you all the time in a struggle, like what to maintain or what not to maintain. And if like the other Israeli people accepting me and accepting my Judaism.
So I wonder if any of you had a thought about what Brahan talked about as what was bitter for her as an Ethiopian Jew. It was both hard to leave, but then what was hard for her when she got to Israel?
Being judged by the Israelis on their Judaism, fitting in.
Yeah,
being accepted for their tradition.
Being judged by the Israelis, and as she said, figuring out what to maintain and what to let go of. I mean, and to a large extent, I think she was struggling with how much to assimilate. In the other video that she said that we watched of hers, she said her happiest time in Israel was when she came to a Jewish camp in America. Think about that for a minute. Her happiest time in Israel was when she came to a Jewish camp in America. And what she said was she was completely and totally accepted there. And that was something that she had never really experienced in Israel before. And that just struck me as, oh my goodness. And on the one hand, it's after Brahan came to our shul in January, somebody texted me and said, it's hard to imagine that even in Israel, there's racism. But yes, sadly, even in Israel, there is. And it reminds me that in every generation encounters, Vahisha Amba, every generation encounters some kind of difficulty. And in every generation, we have to see ourselves as if we had been enslaved, as a reminder to develop that empathy. We're going to continue with Bechol Dor Vador.
בכל דור ודור חייב אדם לראות, חייב אדם לראות את עצמו כאילו הוא יצא, כאילו הוא יצא, כאילו הוא יצא ממצרים. בכל דור ודור חייב אדם לראות, חייב אדם לראות את עצמו כאילו הוא יצא, כאילו הוא יצא, כאילו הוא יצא ממצרים. בכל דור ודור חייב אדם לראות, חייב אדם לראות את עצמו כאילו הוא יצא, כאילו הוא יצא, כאילו הוא יצא ממצרים. בכל דור ודור חייב אדם לראות, חייב אדם לראות את עצמו כאילו הוא יצא, כאילו הוא יצא, כאילו הוא יצא ממצרים. כאילו הוא יצא, כאילו הוא יצא, כאילו הוא יצא ממצרים.
We're going to continue on with B'tzeit Yisrael.
בצאת ישראל ממצרים, את יעקב מהמלואך. בצאת ישראל ממצרים, את יעקב מהמלואך. הייתה יהודה לקודשו ישראל ממשלותיו. הים רעב וינוס, הירדן ייסוב לאחור. בצאת ישראל ממצרים, בית יעקב מהמרועז. בצאת ישראל ממצרים, בית יעקב מהמרועז. ההרים רקדו כאלים, גבעות כבני צאן. מלאכה הים כי תנוס, הירדן תיסוב לאחור. בצאת ישראל ממצרים, בית יעקב מהמרועז. בצאת ישראל ממצרים, בית יעקב מהמרועז. בצאת ישראל ממצרים, בית יעקב מהמרועז. בצאת ישראל ממצרים, בית יעקב מהמרועז.
We continue with the second cup of wine. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Gaal Yisrael. So when we're done, I hope that you'll have a nice dinner and you can make a motzi matzah and you'll have some maror and you'll make a korach sandwich. What I asked Cantor Levson is if we could sing a few Pesach songs, and we'll sing a few songs and then we'll do Eliyahu Hanavi and we'll end with Hatikva. And we'll probably be on another 10 minutes or so, and then I'll leave you on your own. And I do want to say that any of you that would like to see the entire video of Brahan from, I took snippets of it. I watched a good part of it, but if you want it after Chag, I'll be delighted to send it to anyone who wants it. But I think I'll do a stop share and we could sing some Pesach songs together before Eliyahu Hanavi and Hatikva.
Unmute. Okay. I have found, now having done two years worth of Zoom Seders, that because we can't really sing together, there are tunes that really don't work all that well. So I'm going to sing just a little bit of a version of the Echad Mi Yodea, Who Knows One, that I'm very fond of, just realizing that it loses a lot in the translation. So I'll do 1, 2, 3, and 13. So, who knows one? I know one. One is the Lord. One is the Lord. One is the Lord in the heavens and the earth. Who knows two? I know two. Two are the tablets that Moses brought, and one is the Lord. One is the Lord. One is the Lord in the heavens and the earth. Who knows three? I know three. Three are the papas and two are the tablets that Moses brought, and one is the Lord. One is the Lord. One is the Lord in the heavens and the earth. Okay, I'll do 4. Who knows 4? I know 4. 4 are the mamas and 3 are the papas and 2 are the tablets that Moses brought, and one is the Lord. One is the Lord. One is the Lord in the heavens and the earth. We're going to skip to 13. Who knows 13? I know 13. 13 are the divine attributes of God, and 12 are the tribes of Israel, 11 are the stars in Joseph's dream, 10 are the commandments, 9 are the months before a baby is born, and 8 are the days before a brit, 7 are the days of the week, and 6 are the books of the Mishnah, and 5 are the books of the Torah, and 4 are the mamas, 3 are the papas, 2 are the tablets that Moses brought, and one is the Lord, one is the Lord, one is the Lord in the heavens and the earth. And why don't we do a slightly more traditional old favorite with Adir Hu. We're not going to do all of the cross-stick verses, but we'll do a little bit.
My children would be so disappointed if I skipped a verse.
Oh.
He says sarcastically.
Adir Hu, Adir Hu, בקרוב, במהרה, במהרה, בימינו בקרוב. אל בני, בני ביתך בקרוב. בחור הוא, גדול הוא, דגול הוא, יבנה ביתו בקרוב. במהרה, במהרה, בימינו בקרוב. אל בני, בני ביתך בקרוב. אל בני, בני ביתך בקרוב. And of course, in-person Seders, especially after 3 cups of wine, we often would get silly and be singing Albany, Albany, the capital of New York State. Pesach silliness. All right, shall we do an Eliyahu or?
Sure. So I don't know if you want to open your door for Elijah. I'll leave that to you. But the truth is, Elijah is really important. I do think the rabbis framed Pesach in such a way because they understood that throughout the generations there would be challenges, and we can never give up hope. We always have to imagine that redemption will come. One of the Robert Levine, who grew up in our congregation, wrote one of my favorite books, There Is No Messiah and You Are It. So really, when we open the door for Elijah, I wish there were a mirror there so that we would imagine what our role is in bringing about redemption for those in our lives.
Nice. Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi, Bimhera Veyamenu, Yavo Eleinu, Mashiach ben David, Mashiach ben David, Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi.
Tonight being the second night of Pesach, I just wanted to stop for a moment and as we count the Omer together, Hinini Muchana Muzemenet L'Kayem Mitzvata Seshel Sfirat HaOmer Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Asher Kitchen Mitzvotav V'Tzivanu Al Sfirat HaOmer Hayom Yom Echad LaOmer. So one of the things that my family has taken the habit of doing, or I should say I've taken the habit of it for them, is we actually always end our Seder with Hatikva. The Seder traditionally ends with L'Shana Haba Abi Yerushalayim, but I never like to lose sight of the fact that, in fact, the state of Israel has been established, and the Jewish world is remarkably different today than it was in 1948, or when the Haggadah was edited together. And it is a reminder of our connection. And when I think about Brahan and her life experience, I think about how different her life is because there was a Jewish state, because there was a place for her and her family to go to. And whereas I'm mindful that the state of Israel is not perfect, and in fact has its fair share of things that it needs to work on as it struggles with its fourth election in, 2 years. Still, I don't lose sight of the miracle, and I pause it to conclude a story about going from slavery to freedom, to recognize the state and the potential for bringing healing and goodness to the Jewish world and to the entire world. So we'll conclude tonight with Hatikva.
כל עוד בלב הפנימה נפש יהודי הוהיה מטה מזרח קדימה עין ציון צופיה עוד לא אבדה תקוותנו התקווה בשנות 2000 להיות עם חופשי בארצנו ארץ ציון וירושלים חופשי בארצנו בארץ ציון וירושלים.
And I think it's appropriate to let Brahan have the last word of next year in Jerusalem.
Absolutely.
About that also, Dayenu.
וואי 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 וואי. זה ניקוי? לא ניקת?
What do you most wish for next year in Jerusalem? What's your biggest dream for your family, for the Ethiopian community?
Oh, that's a big question.
Yeah.
So my wishes to the next year that my dad will find his father, and also my mom's sisters will come to Israel, and for the community that they will feel home in Israel and they will not feel any racist thing in Israel.
And for you, what's your
For
dream
me.
for next year? Yeah.
I have a lot of dreams. Continuing to do my degree. I'm learning at the Ben Gurion University, Hotel and Tourism Management, that I will succeed my degree and be in touch with my culture and not be shy with that, like to be proud with who I am.
יהושע. ישוע, קוראים לו אבא? גם ישוע?
אבא שלי?
כן.
מלכיאל.
ישוע מלכי, ימדע ולעצ'ה.
מה אומר לי? הופה, עם סוכה.
זהו.
So I will wish all of you a Zis Pesach, and I will just say this, Josh Weisberg, who we've done several programs with, for our annual meeting on April the 18th, before the annual meeting, and we're going to do a session about Hannah Jenny. Actually, Hannah Jenny is his wife, the mother of 8. She was born here in the United States, and we'll learn about her journey to Orthodox Judaism. So Aziz and Pesach tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, I'm going to teach a class about the Exodus and Minions at 5:45. And Tuesday night, we have our class with Alan Marinas. So I'm really glad that you joined us. I know this wasn't the Seder that you might have been used to, but hopefully we had a taste of, or if you didn't have a taste of, you'll have a taste of Pesach. And it was just good to connect and be with so many of you. And
Thank
to
you.
Cantor Lavson, I want to give a big special thank you.
You're most welcome. Glad to participate and help to make the Seder festive. It was fascinating. I really enjoyed this, and it was a wonderful re-examination of an ancient ritual that has played out within her lifetime. And so, yasher koach.
And just let me know if you want to see the video in its whole. I'm delighted to share it.
Thank you,
Thank you
Rabbi.
very much, Rabbi.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm hungry. I don't know about you guys.
Thank
you.
Mad Leaf. Where are we?
Mad Leaf.
Yep.
Oh.
Oh, there it is.
Okay.